Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the number one source for the RVGCR. People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RVGCR. Don't miss your chance and get your latest updates every day. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RVGCR. Brought to you by Freedom Fighter.
Hey, beautiful people, this is Freedom Fighter, and welcome to Saturday Night Dialogues. It is June the 28th, 2025. We have a jam-packed call tonight. We will be talking about how Iraq is upgrading its banking system for the RV. Also, Vietnam upgrading their banking system prior to the RV. And then also the new banking system that goes live throughout the world on July 1st, this coming Tuesday. The whole entire banking system, all central banks around the world will upgrade to the new banking system on Tuesday, July 1st. Let's get into some prayer. Then we're going to get rocking and rolling and get this party started. Father God, we give you grace. We give you honor. We thank you. We glorify you. We value you. Without you, there would be no us. We would not be here. We ask that you allow each and every person that is on this call to be able to comprehend what is going to be shared. I ask that you allow me and the other speakers and the other voices that they hear for them to be heard and understood in a way for people to comprehend. We ask that you give people the discernment, the heart, the mind, the spirit to be able to take action on what we will share tonight and what we have shared thus far, Father God. And we ask in your precious name, we pray. Amen. All right, folks, real quick, some quick announcements. The Goldilocks QFS Dialogues Room, of course, is open from Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, that is the room where we are able to help educate our members of what they need to do and how to do it. That's where we show members the 8 steps and walk them through it to be able to establish relationships with the actual bankers that can and will exchange your currency. That is where we break down the Goldilocks articles and answer any and all questions. Just imagine, where can you go anywhere in dinar land and have someone to answer questions for you, give you help, give you guidance on being prepared for the RV? Where else can you get that and not being charged a dime? Also, folks, Goldilocks QFS Dialogues Room, we just reached a little over 5,000 members. We are very proud and very excited. Then we have, of course, let's move on to D's room, where D drops articles of what's happening in the global banking system. The crypto finance room with Dave Big Dog, anything related to crypto, that's where you go. Then we have Goldilocks Global Banking News, your daily podcast for the RV. So much is heating up right now, folks. You do not want to miss any of the updates coming from Goldilocks and on the podcast every single day. The podcast, Goldilocks Global Banking News, is reaching over 70 countries around the world with subscribers, over 1.5 million views that the podcast has hit, the channel has hit. And so, folks, just understand and know it's a golden opportunity for you to be able to get this information shared by Goldilocks and the tribe, Wiley and myself, on a daily basis. Cherish every single moment. And for those of you on YouTube or wherever you may be, you can click the link at the top of the description and join the Goldilocks QFS Dialogues room. That is where you'll be able to get the assistance that you need to get prepared for the RV. Like many of you have heard, many members on the podcast who have done so, and they are willing and able to share and help you. All right, folks. Like I said, tonight we're going to show what that Iraq upgrading the banking system for the RV. Vietnam, same thing. And then also the new banking system going live July 1st. We're going to bring the receipts just like we always do. So prepare yourselves. Also, tonight we have two amazing members that you're going to hear from. You're going to hear from Nova Knickers first, and then we are going to go to Mike N. He's going to bring something. Mike N is going to be our surprise for you tonight. And then the awesome, amazing Garlic String Bean is going to be reading our articles for tonight. All right, let's get rocking and rolling. Nova Knickers, if you are here, can you raise?
I'm unmuted.
Oh, there you go. There you go. How you doing, our famous funny farmer?
I'm good.
You doing good?
Yeah, it's hot, but we're doing good.
Awesome. Folks, this young lady has come a very long way on this journey. She has two amazing mentors, Sally I Am and String Bean. They are the golden girls in this journey. They have done tremendous for themselves individually, and Nova Knickers is going to share her feedback on her progress with her bankers tonight. I couldn't wait. We are ready. The floor is yours. Give us your latest, young lady. Give us your latest.
Well, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
we had worked out this meeting. I called him and I told him that I really wanted to meet him in person, and so that he could go over a financial plan. How they put it in their little system and work it out. And so I was like, I'd rather not do it as a Zoom, because we've already had Zoom meetings and I've already talked to him on the phone. So we went in person, and he was really excited to meet us. He thought that was better too. And really enjoyed the visit and the presentation that he gave us. I have interviewed 7, and this was the first one that put our names in the system, and it was just so personal, even though the numbers weren't, realistic or anything, but it just felt like it was really personal. So
he showed you sample numbers that were the possibility for him to work with. Just give you an example of what it would look like.
Yeah,
mathematics.
It was only 250,000, but I mean, it was our names on that board that was just like, wow. So I mean, it just made it real. And so we were sitting there, and he was having a little bit of technical trouble and in between, and so we would just have little chit chat, and we were sitting there, and while he was trying to fix that, and I told him, I said, well, I've interviewed 7 so far. And then I looked at him and I said, but you're my favorite. And he just wiggled in his chair and sat up, and he was like, well, would you like a tour of our office? And so we finished our talks there. But and another little empty moment, I had said, well, I've got a few questions, about some things that I come up with because I'm a part of this group, and there's somebody in there that's really knowledgeable in wealth management and stuff. And he jotted something down. He had a notebook, and that was the only time he wrote one little sentence, and he was far away from the table, and I couldn't see what he wrote. But after I had said that, and he jotted down his little note, he said, would you like to review a contract? After I told him that I was part of a group, and so I'm really curious as to what he wrote down. So Anyway, I was like, sure, send me the contract and let me look over it. And I've been looking over it. It's a lot of words, but
A lot of words. Oh, was that the contract for the
to hire him.
brokerage?
Yeah. Well, it's to
Oh,
hire
okay.
him. So yeah,
Uh-huh. Okay.
yeah.
That
And
wow.
it talks about all the brokerage and everything that they can do, and
Mhm.
my part in it and his part in it, and
Mhm.
it's a contract to hire him.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Okay. Okay.
And we discussed brokerage accounts a little bit. I didn't really
Mhm.
know what to ask. I was
Mhm.
more, I was impressed that our name was on the wall. That was just like, wow.
That's very impressive. That goes to show that he really is the type to really be honed in and focused on his clients, and he really wanted you guys to feel very comfortable with him. I see.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. And then I asked him, I said, well, just for curiosity's sake, does any of your
Mm-hmm.
clients ever outgrow you? And
Mm-hmm.
he kind of tilted his head a little and he's like, well, no, most of my
Mm-hmm.
clients are very wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
he's the one that gets the most wealthy clients in the group.
Gotcha.
And
Gotcha.
yeah, so that was impressive. And then
Mm-hmm.
um, he took us on our little tour, and he
Mm-hmm.
was so proud of his office, and he showed us all the cubicles, and and then we ran into his boss, and we got to meet
Uh-huh.
him.
Uh-huh.
And one of the people that work there is related to a famous
Jim Shoulders.
Jim who?
Jim Shoulders.
Jim Shoulders. He's
Uh-huh.
a famous rodeo person.
Okay, gotcha.
And he
Okay.
had to show me all the pictures because he knows we're farm people too. So
Right, right, right. That's right up your alley.
yeah, but I really and I just want to know how do I move this conversation further about so if I tell him I want to sign this contract, what do I do next?
Okay. It'll be best for you. Let me ask you this. So, are you 100% certain this is who you want to move forward with?
Absolutely.
Okay. Who have you signed a contract or been presented a contract by any of the other wealth managers
No.
that no. Okay. Okay. Is there a because oftentimes with wealth managers that may have a contract, there might be a timeline or time frame
Right.
for moving forward. Did you see in there if there was?
I did not.
You did
I,
not.
I mean, I only got through the first page. I'm telling you, it's 11 pages long, and it
Oh,
could
okay.
it could be more than that because they got them
Okay.
all crunched in there, all the words.
Okay. Is there a commitment fee of any sort if you were to proceed with him?
I don't think so. And he said, even if I sign the contract, that I could back out whenever I wanted to.
That's what I wanted to know.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I wanted to know. Okay. All right. And then that meeting, and I didn't hear it. Maybe you did, and you just didn't share it. Was there any discussion about your goals, your financial goals?
Yes.
Okay. 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 Now, when you shared that, what was his response to your financial goals?
Like he was supportive, and
Right. But I'm not okay. Let me ask it differently. Did he give you an idea of how he would be able to help achieve your financial goals?
yes,
Okay. Okay. Got it. Got it. Okay. And this was a private wealth management firm, correct?
yes.
Okay. Got it. Got it. Got it. Okay. I see Wiley is on. Let's get Wiley on. He
Okay.
may have Wiley, you there? Are you able?
Yeah, I'm on here.
There you
Hi.
go. Hi.
Nova, on your contract. Well, first of all, congratulations. You've worked hard to get where you are and learning this and get to the point where you actually have contract in front of you. Let me ask you: is there anything in the contract that you don't understand or that you want more clarity on?
Well, like I said, I've only read through we had camp meeting all week, and we've been going to bed at midnight, and so I've read the first page.
Well, my
And
suggestion is what reason I ask is my suggestion is ask for another meeting with him and ask if you could walk through the contract with him and ask what this means and that means so you get a clear understanding, not from the legalese piece in the contract, but kind of verbally for what it's saying from them.
okay,
And that's a way to continue to grow and build because you're like, hey, and be forthright. Hey, this isn't my wheelhouse. This is new to us. I don't completely understand everything in here. Can we get another meeting so we can kind of walk through some of this so I have more clarity and understanding what it is you're providing and I'm signing?
yeah, that's a good idea. That's why I got y'all.
Well, this way it provides you both clarity and you're understanding exactly what they're bringing to the table. And then you'll know the follow up questions based on what you hear and what your ideas for your future are and how those align with where you want to go. And you can
Yeah,
ask those pertinent questions as he's drilling down through this paperwork with you. And it's just another way as another touch point to have another meeting and just
Mm-hmm.
be very forthright. Say, this is new to us. This is somewhat scary and a tall order. Could we have a
yeah. I
meeting
don't
where
want to
you
put
could
my
break this?
name on something that
Yeah.
I don't
But
understand or
be
agree
honest
with.
with it, Keith. He knows that this is new to you. He already knows that. And he's trying
Yeah.
to impress you. He wouldn't, it's no small thing that he showed you around the office and wanted to
Mm-hmm.
brag to you a little bit. He wants you as a client.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I got that. I understood that very clear.
Right. So he wants you as a client. But when you go back to him very forthright like that, he's going to appreciate that even more
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
because he knows you're in it to really be in it and understand it, not just sign the contract and throw it back. Say, okay, let's go make some money. You want to know.
Hmm.
Exactly.
That would be my advice. That's what I would do. That's how I would handle it. And it gives me an opportunity to ask follow ups directly, plus
Mm-hmm.
continue to build the relationship further.
Right.
I
Yeah, I
like that.
really like this guy. And like I said, I've had 7 meetings. Not all of them in person. Some of them were Zoom, some of them were just phone calls, but this one is like he's just super special. Just the way he reaches out. And I had one that was calling me or sending me an email at least every other week, and he's dropped off, and I don't know what happened to him. But
And that's
this
the
one,
importance. Yeah, that's the importance of relationship building because, the person that you're meeting with is hitting all the right notes for you, but
hmm,
Wiley could come along and he could put all the wrong notes for me.
right.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a very individualized thing we're having and asking you to go do. And that's why it's so important is that relationship piece because this is a teamwork
Right.
and you need the guardrails per se as you're learning to handle wealth. And this is your guardrail. This guy's your training wheels. He's going to be there to say, and he's already told you, hey, no, my people don't outgrow me. I tend to make them very, very wealthy. That
Hmm.
tells you, hey, he goes, I've got the bandwidth to take you where you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's worth nurturing. It's worth getting in there. It's worth, just sometimes you have to. I think you're at the point. It's time to put some cards on the table. Not talk about all the currencies and stuff, but just say this is new to us. We're a little apprehensive yet to throw our name on this because we don't understand what all it means. Can you break some of it down? And then
Mm-hmm.
he'll do that for you. That's what he's there
Mm-hmm.
for, and
Yeah.
that's the kind of relationship you want. Every time you get into something, you want somebody that's going to say, "Hey, okay, here's the nuts and bolts."
Mm-hmm.
Very clear. Sweep away all the ancillary stuff and just say, here's the meat of it.
Yeah. I like that. I will do that.
Excellent. Excellent. What I would encourage you to do, young lady, and you mentioned that the contract is 11 pages. You read the first page. That's why I was getting to asking you certain questions. I would encourage you prior to your next meeting and as soon as possible, just a little trick to the trade to familiarize yourself with what's the language that's in that contract. You don't have to know it all. Read the first sentence of each paragraph. Don't read the whole entire paragraph of each of within that contract on those pages. Just read the first sentence of each paragraph. Skip through the first sentence of each paragraph till you get to the 11th page.
Okay.
What will happen is you will become more familiar with what's in there. Again, you don't have to understand in totality, but at least have some sort of comprehension of what's in there before you meet with them again, like Wiley is suggesting. Great advice by Wiley to request that meeting. But
Okay.
read the first sentence of each paragraph, and also, I would in that meeting I will also hone in on my goals once again. In that meeting, I follow up.
Okay.
Okie
Yeah,
dokie.
100% follow up on that. But let me tell you, this is just starting out. When you say 8, 11 pages, whatever that is, you're going to grow. And I will tell you, at the ultra wealth levels, these contracts are going to get bigger, more in depth. And I think the biggest one I've signed was 152 pages.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, so these things are going to grow. So it behooves you to ask this guy to understand what it's saying, because as you start seeing more of these, you're going to want to understand how to read these, how to read through the lawyer speak.
Yeah.
And it's a skill set, just like the skill set you learned about how to go get one of these guys, how to talk to them, what that process is. The more you see of these, and like Freedom said, read the first paragraph, kind of get a little understanding. Okay, that's just bank protecting themselves, protecting me. Sometimes that's a lot of what it is. It's just some legalese word that both parties protected, blah, blah, blah. But you're going to see more of this as you keep investing. So don't be afraid to ask. He'll
Okay.
break it down. And as you grow, you're going to start seeing more and more of these. They're just going to get easier to read. It'll become just very second nature to you. So don't stress over it, Nova.
Oh, I'm not stressing because it was so comfortable. It was like home when we were in there. And like I've been to some, in-person meetings. One of them I went to was completely awkward and just, it was the building was too ritzy. I wouldn't allow my grandchildren in there because they would tear it up. And it was just real stiff in there. But this one was not. It was like sitting down with my uncle or somebody. I've really
And
felt
that's what you
comfortable.
want. That you want that comfort level. You want somebody that you know is approachable, that can speak to you at your level, that you feel very at ease with, and you can just run about anything by them. This is going to become kind of like your best friend in the investment stuff you're doing later. You're going to run a lot of stuff by them, and they have the
Mhm.
bandwidth to say, I don't know, but I've got people I can ask. Let me get back with you, because they don't know everything, but their breadth is and knowledge in this stuff is pretty deep, but sometimes they got to go ask. So this
Yeah.
relationship is so key. And again, congratulations for
Yes.
Well,
taking the
Yes.
thank you.
reins, in such short order, really, to get where you are. And if they start offering you a job, the answer is no. You're going to
I
be
don't
busy.
want to work.
I know one thing, Wiley. This wealth manager that she met with, he truly set the bar very high for her. Now he set the bar so high with being, has their names on the presentation, the tour, is the contract. It's going to be hard for any wealth manager to follow this guy with her.
He was
Yeah.
selling to them is what he
Yep.
was doing. He was
Mm-hmm.
recruiting, and he
Mm-hmm.
was he was giving you that comfort level to say, I want you as a client. I
Mm-hmm.
understand you. I know where you want to go. I can do this. I understand what you're telling me. And he's doing everything he can. Think of it like these college teams when they're going out to these high school kids and trying to recruit them. They're like, hey, here's what I'm going to do for you. Here's what I'm going to do. He's really trying to get you to come over to the college campus and say, this is where you're going to be home.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And he's doing
Yeah.
everything he can to show you the whole, Here's who we are. Here's my boss. This is this. Here's my office. What do you think? And by showing you his office, he's taking pride in his office and what he does for his clients. So that's a
Mm-hmm.
huge one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt that whenever I was like, okay, let's go see it.
Yeah, because that's where I mean, most people spend 80% of their lives in their offices.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
and while I was there, I said, well, because this is the first time we're meeting in person, can I have your business card? And he
Mm-hmm.
gave it to me. So,
Very nice. Yeah.
See,
And wait to ask him about outgrowing and taking some of those questions that we didn't say to ask questions, but turning them into questions. Very
mm-hmm.
important to ask things like that because now you know you only need to build it once.
mm-hmm.
That's right. That's right. And it's amazing, Wiley, because she's come such a long way. Initially, Nova had some hiccups, but I just love the fact that she was able to regroup and gratefully with Sally I Am and String being her mentors. It's been in the tribe. It's been beautiful to see her
Yeah, and those
progress.
girls are rock stars too in themselves. So
Yeah.
and Nova Knickers adding to the Three Musketeers there. That these girls are going to be set, especially if they can talk amongst one another and kind of bounce
Right.
ideas off.
Mm-hmm.
That's always going to help them too. But yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
That's right. Yeah, and you ladies had a recent luncheon together, didn't you? Nova,
Oh,
you,
yes.
Sally. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. It was kind of like we've been doing it about once a month, and
Hmm.
it was my birthday month, so it was
Right.
kind of
Last
like
Monday. Yeah.
yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, congratulations. It's only going to get better from here with this wealth manager. Are you thinking of interviewing any other private wealth managers?
I Right now I don't feel like I want to.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, just curious. Got it. Okay.
Now I was a little late to the call, Nova. Was this a private wealth manager or was this with the bank?
It's a private wealth manager
Okay,
that my
excellent. Because
private
you said you're
bank.
not going to outgrow him,
Well,
so I
it's my
put in.
private bank recommended it to me. That's the one that they work with.
Really? See, that's
Yeah.
now you got somebody else cheerleading for you.
Mm-hmm.
And if your bank's cheerleading for you and they gave you the name, man, I tell you what, they already have a rapport. So that's another
Mm-hmm.
win in your hat right there.
Yeah,
But don't
absolutely.
worry about not having the right question or thinking you don't have the right question to ask them. Trust me, there's no silly question when you're starting in this, and he understands that.
Hmm.
But when you have the questions, just reach out, send an email. But my first step would be like, hey, we got the contract. Thank you. I don't understand it. Can we sit down and have a conversation? You kind of just break a few things down.
I like that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'll
that's
do
where I'd
that. And then
start. And that's
I'll
going to trigger both a lot of questions for both you and your husband that you're going to want to take some notes. And there'll be some follow up. You're like, okay, I understand. Okay, what's that mean? Okay, what does that mean to me? You're going to have follow up. You're going to like, okay, that gives us a better understanding. I've got more of a comfort level because that's what this is about. You really want to find that comfort level in this. And it sounds like you already have a comfort level, but
Mm-hmm.
now you're getting to the real brass tacks. And that's where everybody's putting it out there. Hey, yeah, okay, I'm working with you. You're working with us. We're going to sign this. I understand now. This is where you're getting, and you're going to find those questions that are material to your specific case. That
hmm
it's hard. It's hard for Freedom or myself to say, "Oh, ask about this," without us being in the room, because depending on
Mm-hmm.
what he said would trigger my mind to like, okay, well, that's great. But what does that mean in this and this and that? There would have been follow up I would have based on that, and you're going to find your feel for that. You truly
Mm-hmm.
will. Trust me. With every day you've been in the room and what you've heard and what's been put out, you know more than you think you realize.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I believe that.
It's there. It just hasn't been triggered yet because he hasn't said something to trigger it in your mind, but it will come out when it is time.
That's right.
Well,
Absolutely.
I'm super excited, and so I will reach out to him and have another face to face, and I'll
Mm-hmm.
have another update soon.
Awesome. Awesome. Congratulations to you and
Yeah,
hubby.
keep going.
Awesome. And thank you. Thank you for being you. Thank you for your participation in the room and helping others. I know you're extremely busy on the funny farm, but you come on in when you can. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, beloved. Thank you. All right. Next, folks, we have the one and only, this gentleman that you're about to hear from, Mike N. For those of you that are not aware, last Saturday, we had the part 2 of the RV plan leaked that we shared. Of course, the week before that was part 1. So on Monday this past week, Mike posted into the room his pretty much his understanding of what the RV plan is that he heard, and his appreciation for what Goldilocks, Wiley, myself, and the tribe shares in the room. So as a result, someone decided to file a complaint on Mike in Telegram. So Mike, you are in elite status with Wiley, because the same thing happened to Wiley. So what we posted into the room is his comment that Telegram deleted because someone decided to file a complaint on his post. And I want to make it be known right now, just so that everyone is aware, whenever someone files a complaint on Telegram, we know, folks, there's haters that, want to censor us like they censored Wiley for a minute. They did the same thing to Mike the Sniper. But it doesn't prevent us from having a call when that person is in Telegram jail. I thought about doing a call during the week, but I said, nah, let's do it on Saturday Night Dialogues. So for whoever you are that decides that you want to file a complaint with Telegram doesn't have any sort of system where they do any due diligence on what someone posts. Anyone can file a complaint, boom, and get a person in Telegram jail. So what we're going to do from this point, if whoever you are continues to do this, we're going to give that member a voice on the Saturday night call like we're doing with Mike here tonight. So if you do that with someone else, one of the members next week, that member will be on Saturday Night Dialogues for the following Saturday. So we appreciate it. And this is a golden opportunity. So it's actually a badge of honor. Wiley, y'all censored him for a couple of days. Now Mike in. It's a badge of honor, Sniper.
Mama, I made it.
You made it. They went after Wiley first. Now it's like someone, remember, you should be thinking like, dang, okay, what do I have to say? So nice, so wonderful, so much truth to be told for someone to come and try to attack us. Okay, so what Mike is going to do, he's going to read what was deleted out of Telegram, and then he's going to read, and he took his time and wrote something very special he's going to share tonight. And folks listening, this gentleman, Mike N, the Sniper, we call him, when it comes to relationships, as Wiley consistently always talks about, this young man has a relationship so strong with his private wealth manager that they literally speak or communicate in some fashion every day. If it's not phone, it's by text. And they have had in-depth discussions about currency in the RV. I've even seen private messages between the wealth manager and Mike N related to the RV. So this young man posts his updates into the room, his gratitude into the room, and someone decides they want to censor him. Well, like I said, he's going to have a voice here tonight. Go ahead, man. Sniper, the floor is yours, good man. The floor is yours.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. So
yes, sir.
The message that I wrote was, what a powerful sequel to the last week's Saturday Night Dialogue. That was a power-packed article. It was amazing to see it in writing, and we are witnessing the process in real time with Senator Haggerty as he's walking the Genius Act through. That's the sponsor. In full agreement with the currency vision and balances and former trade minister Robert Lighthizer. In Trump's second term, has signed on day one to implement the executive order, America First trade policy, leveling the playing field through currency exchange rates in black and white.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote another part, and it says, I wanted to tell you guys congratulations on your 1 year anniversary. And as
Oh,
Goldilocks
thank you.
QFS has only been open, only been around for a year, Goldilocks has taught the world so much about this process. We have learned a lot about major institutions that are changing to adjust for the RV. Event here are some. The BIS, the IMF, the World Bank, the World Trade Organization, the Central Bank of Iraq, the State Bank of Vietnam, the European Union, the Financial Stability Board, Public Bank of China, Federal Reserve, the OCC, the Commodities Futures Trade Commission, and all Tier 1 banks. Each one has made real statements in writing brought to us by Goldilocks and Freedom Fighter. The most important things they taught us were the languages these institutions speak, understanding the digital asset trading system, the CHIPS Act, the tokenized asset backed commodities, the Genius Act, the Stable Act, the Clarity Act, the KYC that they do, the anti money laundering, understanding categories A through D, SOFR that was implied in October 1st, distributed ledger technology, stable coins, the ISO projects such as ISO 222 and 4217, and also swaps and tax laws that were to be adjusted just for this event. These are real things that every institution that was named is implemented to create a transparency and in real markets in real time and global compliance with all laws and across all jurisdictions globally. It didn't stop there. At the same time, Wiley teamed up to teach us the language of the wealth management industry, from wealth strategies to protection to building relationships, LLCs, business strategies, and trust and tax benefits for for everything I just named. And Lady E, she's been there for every single person that walks in the door. She gives you a set of rules. She sets you down. She gives you the idea of what is to expect in a room. And she took time to also create a space for everybody to go back and preview and learn everything at their own time. I say all that within this last year to say we've learned so much, things that we can apply in our real life in just the past year. If you have heard in the last year secret sources, gut feelings, join my Patreon, donate to my group, special banker calls every weekend, misleading stolen bank stories, mystery man with codes, podcasts with subject matters that you can't even go verify, or sign up with your email here or fake mask. I got to ask you a question. How can you benefit from these? How can you build from these? How can you prove that you can create generational wealth with anything that you've heard outside of this group? Has any of that helped you get further ahead? And has that helped you get further ahead? And are you just sitting there, or are you being proactive in terms of building your future? I want to take this time to thank Goldilocks, Freedom Fighter, Lady E, and Wiley. Thank you for being the leaders that you are and bringing clarity and understanding to this once in a lifetime investment.
Wow. 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 Man, thank you. We appreciate you, man. That's phenomenal. Thank you. Wiley, you want to share? He's in good company with you, Wiley. He got into.
Yeah, I left my name on the wall there for him. Let him know.
He marked the days on the wall.
Whoever thought that the idea of providing real information, real strategy, real things that somebody can go do would be offensive and get blocked, that somebody gets banned, while other people are out there. Just for instance, today somebody put a name out of an individual who's a known felon who tried robbing HSBC of $90 million and threw their name out and said they are a dragon elder. It's the biggest farce there is. Wow. And he's out there touting it. People need to check their sources before they say things like that. They're talking to hundreds of thousands of people. Stop lying to people. That's the kind of stuff that bothers me. Is we're trying to help you all succeed in this, and it's very hard to do when other people latch on emotionally to you and lead you astray.
Right.
But you're in good company, Mike. Well said. You're welcome. I'm glad it helped, and I hope it helps you long into your futures and your families.
I appreciate you guys, and I'm not the only one that says that. Everybody on this call and everybody that's been active in building and what they're doing, you know, they're gonna look back at these moments they've taken, these steps, and this information, and it's gonna become fluent for them. It'll no longer be a nervous start. It'll be a fluent thing for them because they understand the language and they're not just trying to figure it out. Because once they get going in this process, things are gonna start to click. It's just like anything, riding a bike, you're on training wheels, and then once you take the training wheels off, next thing you know, you're riding wheelies down the street.
Exactly. Wow.
Or getting a job offer to go work for some of these people, and you're like, whoa, I just sound good. I just know a little of a little. Oh, wait, Mike, that's not you. That's Lady Unique. I'm sorry.
Right. Oh, man. But thank you, Mike. Like I said, whoever it was, just know if you continue, we will give that member a voice and a platform to reach hundreds of thousands of people every single time. So this is not just another opportunity for our members to really be heard. Can't be censored. Won't happen. Thank you, Mike.
You know what I truly love about this group of individuals and people that we've been working with and that come to the call is they're really studious, and they really look at this, and they really care, and they want this, and they want it for themselves in the worst way, that they're really studying this stuff, that when they're going and seeing these institutions, they're blown away by the language, the knowledge, the know-how, because they have inside knowledge that that these people in there know they've been talking to somebody, because this ain't the type of stuff they hear from somebody walking in.
Right.
So know how powerful you all are with what the language you are using. They don't hear it every day. We've heard from bankers, and they will go through dozens of people before they hear what they're hearing from you. It is a breath of fresh air for them to have somebody come to them with an understanding of money mechanics and understand wealth and finance.
Absolutely.
They're impressed, and you've done the homework, and they're impressed by you. Relish in that, because you guys deserve every bit of it. You deserve everything that's coming to you and more, because you're putting in the work.
Absolutely. We appreciate it, Wiley. Thank you, Sniper, for your message, man. The best is yet to come for you. All right, folks, we're gonna get into these articles. Everything you just heard from Wiley, from Sniper, Mike, and it all ties into what you're about to hear, and related to the RV in itself and getting prepared. The awesome garlic string beans. Are you ready to get this going with these articles?
Hello,
young lady. Good evening. Thank you for chiming in. What did you think about your awesome partner over there, Nova Knickers?
I'm proud of her. We've come a long way from the Piggly Wiggly. All of us
have. Awesome. Thank you so much for reading tonight. Next Saturday we'll have the awesome Peculiar Ram back on the mic reading articles. We got the awesome garlic string bean tonight. Let's get rocking and rolling. All right.
Are you ready?
This is 1 second. I'm going to post this into the room. You like freedom? Be quiet, freedom. Let's go. What folks? What garlic string bean is going to read first tonight? Boom, post it into the room. We're going to go back to the basics, back to reality, back to the root of how the RV it transpires, is transpiring, will develop. We have to remind some folks, also for some folks who aren't aware, this might be the first time that they've heard this call. And for those of you on YouTube, click the link, top of the description. You can join folks like Mike N and Nova Knickers. You're going to be amazed at what you're about to hear. This is how the RV happens. We're going to go back there first, and then it's going to show how Iraq and Vietnam are falling right in line with what Extreme Being is about to read. Go, young lady.
Okay, let me get back up to where I was. Okay. Currency reevaluation is likely to be a priority for some members of a potential second Trump administration, mainly because of the viewpoint that an overvalued dollar contributes to the trade deficit, said one former Trump administration official, adding that Lighthizer and his team are the primary advocates for this approach.
Okay, 1 second, beloved. So those that don't know, this is an article from April the 15th of 2024 showing us this is the leak that many of you have heard of that went viral of how the RV will happen. So, Stream Being, when it says the currency revaluation is likely to be a priority for some members of the potential second Trump administration, mainly because of the viewpoint that an overvalued dollar contributes to the what?
Trade deficit.
Trade deficit. Folks, you're going to hear shortly what Iraq is doing relative to trade and Vietnam relative to trade. Because it all comes down to trade. As Goldilocks has always said, and over 3,500 times or so, this is what Goldilocks has always said. Go, young lady. But weakening the dollar.
But weakening the dollar could have other far-reaching consequences, from sending consumer prices for imported products soaring to inviting retaliation from other countries and threatening the dollar's role as world reserve currency, which would undermine U.S. sanctions on adversaries like Iran and Russia.
Boom. Now we're going to go into, folks, Iraq and the Category A classification. Going back to the summer of last year, actually a little part of the spring, late spring, when Goldilocks began to show us that Iraq was going to move into the Iraqi dinar from a Category C classification. Think of, in school, you have A, B, and C of a grade. The Iraqi dinar has been graded as a C currency, Category C. Therefore, it was a defunct, extremely manipulated currency, extremely weak currency. In order for the dinar to become stronger, there were reforms that Iraq had to pass. The IMF gave them a blueprint that they had to do. The World Trade Organization gave them a plan they had to follow. And they've been doing everything they can to meet those requirements. So now, yes, last year, Goldilocks shared where several of Iraq's currency exchange companies have reclassified the dinar from Category C to Category A. Even the CBI as well, from Category C to Category A for the Iraqi dinar. Now, as of just a few days ago, another currency exchange company in Iraq, and for those that aren't aware, Category A for the Iraqi dinar, it is a precursor for the Iraqi dinar to, as a Category A, they'll be able to transact with international companies. Under Category C or Category B, the dinar cannot transact or move in the international world. Category A can. So now that this is showing that this particular exchange company has now elevated the Category A, the dinar will be able to eventually move internationally. This is just another exchange company in Iraq that they've graduated to category A. Go, young lady.
The granting of a Category A private joint stock exchange company license to Al Dathor Exchange Company number 101 in 2025 could have several implications for Iraqi's economy and financial sector. Below is an analysis of what this means, based on the broader context of Iraqi's financial system and economic landscape. Number one, strengthening the financial sector, enhanced currency exchange services.
Enhanced currency exchange services is what Category A for the dinar will do. Go ahead.
A Category A license typically indicates a high level of authorization, allowing Al Dathor Exchange Company to engage in a wide range of financial activities, such as currency exchange, money transfers, and possibly other financial services. This could improve access to foreign currency, which is critical in Iraq's heavily dollarized, cash-based economy.
When it speaks of folks about Iraq, this will allow for other foreign currencies. Iraq has been depositing other foreign currencies into their banking system. Why? Because they have been the dinar and the certain exchange companies and the CBI has been reclassified to Category A in order to do so as a part of Basel III that goes live on the 1st of July, Tuesday, a part of all the banks around the world. There are three main things. Three things that every bank, every central bank around the world must have: an adequate amount of gold, an adequate amount of XRP, and an adequate amount of foreign currencies. That is other foreign currencies, not just their own currency, but others. Go, young lady.
Increased competition. The entry of a new licensed exchange company could foster competition among private financial institutions, potentially leading to better services, lower transaction costs, and improved efficiency for consumers and businesses. Modernization efforts. The Iraqi government has been pushing to modernize its banking and financial systems, including reducing reliance on cash and combating money laundering. A new Category A licensee may align with these efforts by adopting electronic payment systems and adhering to stricter regulatory standards.
Now, what this does, modernization efforts, what this does, folks, it modernizes Iraq's banking system. What they're doing this to prepare to move from the old global banking system or the old Iraq inundated system to the new banking. They're modernizing their banking system. It's not as if Iraq isn't aware of what's going to happen on July 1st with Basel III. It's the new digital banking system that goes live on July 1st. Iraq has been preparing by modernizing their banking system for the last year or so. This is yet another step for Iraq to prepare for the new banking system that goes live on July 1st by modernizing it. Iraq could not continue to move into the new banking system with old banking practices. No money, no anti-money laundering technology, no critical technology that covers combating criminal activities such as terrorist activities and so forth and so on. This is very key for Iraq. They had to do this in order to prepare for the new banking system that goes live on July 1st. Go, young lady.
Number two, economic diversification and stability. Support for trade and investment.
Support for what?
For trade and investment.
So they're doing this to also prepare for support for trade and investment by moving up to a Category A for the Iraqi dinar. Okay, go ahead.
A robust exchange company can facilitate international trade and investment by providing reliable currency exchange and remittance services. This is particularly important as Iraq seeks to diversify its economy beyond oil, which accounts for over 95% of government revenue and 55% of GDP.
This is very important right here. Support for trade and investment. And we're going to see in a little bit that what Iraq just did is what Vietnam also is doing. Iraq is related to trade. Specifically, Iraq is adhering to Trump's requirements for an RV, just like Vietnam is. And this is what I'm going to touch it here. We're going to get on that also here in a moment. A robust exchange company can facilitate international trade and investment by providing reliable currency exchange and remittance services. This particularly is important as Iraq seeks to diversify its economy beyond oil, which accounts for 95% of their revenue. 95% of Iraq's revenue, folks, comes from oil. That is not balancing their economy. That's imbalanced. Trump has been very strict, especially related to these tariff and trade negotiations, is the imbalance that many countries have been conducting themselves through trade. Iraq must diversify their economy to not solely depend on oil, because if something happens in the oil market, and that's a 95% of their revenue, they'll be up the creek without a paddle. They must diversify their economy, just like many of you have been paying attention how Vietnam has began to diversify their economy. This is why Vietnam, for example, over the last 40, 50 plus years, they've been exporting goods all over the country, all over the world, but not doing so, allowing countries to import goods into Vietnam. 80% of Vietnam's GDP and revenue has come from exports. This is why we saw last week the announcement of Vietnam when they came to sign contracts with the state of Ohio, the state of Iowa, the state of Kansas, and Maryland, in order to increase the imports into Vietnam, because there was unbalance, where they were doing all this exporting out of Vietnam. This is where Trump has hit hard about balancing trade. 95% of a country's revenue just from one source, it's not balanced. But with the graduation or the reclassification of the dinar in its exchange company to category A, it allows the Iraqi dinar to eventually be able to move throughout the international market throughout the world, whereby other goods and services can come into Iraq to off balance the 95% of their only oil revenue. Good, young lady.
Consumer confidence. The licensing of a private joint stock company like Al Dafauer could signal growing regulatory oversight and stability in the financial sector, potentially increasing consumer trust in private financial institutions. Total deposits in Iraqi commercial banks have risen by nearly 40% over the last 2 years, suggesting a gradual increase in confidence.
This is the modernization of their banking system to prepare for the new digital banking system, whereby total deposits in their commercial banks have risen 40%. Folks, before the last 2 years, before they started to modernize their banking system, just like I jokingly said to the CBI on the call with Goldilocks and D a few months ago, I joked about how most of the Iraqis had their dinar under their mattresses. So in order, folks, we're moving into the new digital banking system. Remember, all of these currencies that many people hold have to come out of the refrigerators, from under the mattresses, and into the banking system, so that those physical paper currencies. And remember, many of you saw the article a couple of weeks ago that Goldilocks shared that Iraq is going digital. And actually, as of now, I think about it, next month, July, Iraq will officially have a digital dinar. They want to eventually get as many paper currencies, yes, paper dinars, off of the streets. Yes, the paper dinars that many of us hold, they want to get those currencies off the street, out of our hands, and into the new digital banking system. This is all a part of preparation for modernizing the banking system. 40% of the commercial banks where the deposits have increased. Those deposits are a part of preparing for the new digital asset-based trading system, the new digital banking system, where the RV will occur in the new digital banking system. The RV couldn't occur when folks have all of these currencies in-house, all these currencies because you got to remember, in Iraq, people were afraid of the banks to deposit their money in the banks in Iraq. They deposit their life savings in the bank, there won't be no life savings. The militias were taking all the money from the banks. I won't say who else, but the corruption was so high. People were literally afraid to put their money in the banking system. But now, moving into the new digital banking system, people have become more comfortable. It's more safe to deposit because now the people control their own money right on their phone, just like many of us do here. Many of us we've become accustomed in so many places around the world with digital banking that many of us don't realize that Iraq is just connecting their banking system to where they can bank through their phones, through apps. This is all a part of it in preparation for the new digital banking system where the RV will occur. Okay, young lady, you can continue.
Reducing informal markets. By formalizing currency exchange operations, the Central Bank of Iraq, the CBI, may aim to curb the volatile informal exchange market, which has been a challenge due to corruption and money laundering.
This was the black market, folks, the illegal market of the dinar in Iraq. All right. It was rampant with corruption. The digital modernization now for a large part eliminates the corruption. Why is it so important? Why is it so important to get the Iraqi dinar out of the streets and into the banking system? Folks, how else in the new digital banking system that whereby gold and commodities will back our currencies, how can there be accountability? How can there be an RV? How can there be a revaluation of the Iraqi dinar in the new digital banking system if the paper currencies are not in the digital banking system? It can't happen. If you have a bunch of dinars that are in the hands of dinar holders around the world, do you not realize that's not the majority of the dinar? The majority of the dinar is in Iraq with the people, the citizens, and it wasn't in their banks. But now 40% increase. The rest will come from more people within Iraq becoming comfortable with their banking system, their digital banking. And then the rest will come from those of us who hold dinar around the world. But it must happen in the new digital banking system. So for those of you who have been hearing all this time, Before the digital banking system, how the RV was supposed to occur, there was no way. Couldn't. Does that make sense, String Bean?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's jump right to the next one. I'm going to share right into the room. Or did I share it already? Oh, I think I did. Okay, let's get to this next one. I think. Okay, there it is.
Okay, and you just want me to do the titles on that one?
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Thank you.
Corruption risk, banking sector inefficiencies, economic fragility. No, forget that one. And broader economic impact, job creation, and economic activity, support for private sector growth,
stock market implications. I'm going to explain this real quick, folks. Corruption risk. What happens? Now, I just spoke about corruption in Iraq's old banking system, whereby it wasn't digital. Everything was just the wild, wild west with their banking system, with all these dinars that are just on the street. They have their corrupt black market, the illegal market, whereby people could literally buy dinars behind a building. Yeah, behind a Piggly Wiggly, they can buy dinars instead of going to the central bank. All of that goes away. The corruption goes away in the new digital banking system, with Iraq modernizing their banking system like they're doing. Moving to a category A is the modernizing of their banking system. The inefficiencies that were there goes away. Also, the job creation, whereby there will be more digital banks, more brick and mortar banks and currency exchange locations that will begin to go up in Iraq, creating jobs, private sector growth, stock market implications. Iraq is now elevating from category C to category A for the dinar. They are elevating into the new banking system of the world. Conclusion. You can read the conclusion.
Okay. Conclusion. The granting of a Category A license to Al Dawar Exchange Company number 101 in 2025 is a positive step towards modernizing Iraqi's financial sector, enhancing competition, and supporting economic diversification. It could improve access to financial services, stabilize currency exchange operations, and align with international standards. However, its impact will depend on Iraqi's ability to address systemic challenges like corruption, banking inefficiencies, and economic dependence on oil. If implemented effectively, this move could contribute to greater financial inclusion, consumer trust, and private sector growth in Iraq's evolving economy.
And that consumer trust, folks, is what I was just mentioning a few minutes ago about the Iraqis being comfortable with getting their paper dinars out of their mattresses and depositing them into the banking system, because that's trust. So Iraq has been having these media campaigns for people to deposit their dinars into the banks in preparation for the new digital banking system that the Central Bank of Iraq and all central banks around the world will go live on July the 1st. We'll get into that in a moment. And if anyone wants to see where this came from, we shared a screenshot that in the Goldilocks shared right in this last one from the CBI. Here's the screenshot where it tells you it was decided to grant a license to practice work as a private joint stock exchange company under Category A in the name of Al Dawar Exchange Company. And that was from the Central Bank of Iraq on June the 22nd, just a few days ago. All right, now let's go to Vietnam. So now we see Iraq, and a part of their modernizing is for trade, to enhance their trade, where about 90%, 95% of their revenue comes from oil. They have to balance that trade. Going back to what String being read in the beginning of this call, currency revaluation is likely to be priority of the second Trump administration. especially because of the viewpoint of an overvalued dollar, contributes to the trade deficit of the United States. Well, guess what? The trade deficit in Iraq is because of their imbalance in trade too. Vietnam, imbalance in trade as well, contributing to the devaluation of the Vietnamese dong. Now let's get into Vietnam.
You ready?
Yes, ma'am. Ready.
Okay. The 46% U.S. tariffs, though paused for 90 days, expose Vietnam's vulnerabilities as a heavily export-driven economy and are pushing it to accelerate its transition toward a more resilient market economy. Here's how they're shaping Vietnam's economic trajectory.
1 second, beloved. The 46% U.S. tariffs, though pause for 90 days, exposes Vietnam's vulnerabilities as a heavily export-driven economy, just like Iraq is a heavily export of oil-driven economy. Vietnam is an heavily export-driven economy. So this is all coming down to trade. Good, young lady. Number one.
Number one, pressure to diversify markets and reduce dependency. Vietnam.
Just like it's Iraq stating they have to have less dependency on oil. Now we hear that Vietnam has to do. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Vietnam's export reliance 87.2% of GDP in 2023, with the U.S. accounting for nearly a third, highlights its exposure to U.S. policy shifts. The tariff threat is forcing Vietnam to deepen trade ties with alternative markets like the EU, UK, and CPTPP partners. However, these markets can't immediately offset potential U.S. losses, as China remains Vietnam's largest trading partner. This dynamic is accelerating efforts to diversify but also underscores the challenge of balancing geopolitical ties with the U.S. and China.
Did you mute yourself? Okay, we lost you for a minute, String Bean.
Oh, am I here? You can hear me now?
Yeah, okay. We can hear you now.
Okay. Looks like it's saying I'm connecting. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So I finished that one. You want me to just read the bold?
No, 1 second. You're good. Let's pause right there. I want to explain something for you. Thank you, beloved. Folks, I want to explain this to you so you understand. I hope to articulate this in a way for you to get an idea of how the rates on these currencies will begin to move. So, and of course, it comes back to trade. I want to give you an overview of how it is that over the last 50 plus years, Iraq, Vietnam, and every other trading partner with the United States, for a lack of a better term, they've been eating high off the hog. How so? Well, as we just heard and saw, Vietnam, 87% of their exports, Vietnam's exports is 87% of their GDP, which is mainly from the U.S. Iraq, 95% of their revenue comes from their oil. But now, when you look at Iraq, you look at Vietnam, you look at all of the major, and this is why Trump put the hammer on all of these countries in trade negotiations and tariffs. All of these countries, the reason why I say they've been eating high off the hog is because the United States is primarily the largest, or at least the top three largest trade partner of most of the countries around the world, meaning those countries import so much into the United States, so many products. Now, they've been doing so historically, importing all their goods, whether it's whatever you name as products, like Vietnam is semiconductors and electronics and sneakers and rubber and all these different things. Iraq, just oil, but all these are the countries. All of these countries have been able to devalue their currencies as a result of most of their imports coming into the United States. Why is that so? Because the United States made an agreement with all of these countries over 50 plus years ago that in exchange for the United States to be their because the United States is the largest economy, but in order for Big Daddy, United States, to allow all of these countries to import so heavily into our country, the United States, in exchange for those countries to utilize the US dollar for their trade. So think about that. All of these countries around the world, Vietnam, Iraq, just name whatever country. The US, that's why the US dollar is considered the world's reserve currency, because most of the countries around the world, through trade, they use the US dollar. Remember, the value of a currency, it comes through supply and demand. So with the US dollar being the majority currency that most of these countries around the world have used, that means the US dollar has been in high demand, right? Yes.
Yes.
That's why the US dollar has been the strongest currency. Because most countries are using it in trade and have historically. But so it's like, I'm gonna think of an analogy. Most of these countries have been married to the US dollar. It's a loving, loyal, committed relationship with the US dollar in trade. There was no need for these countries. There was no need for Vietnam, Iraq, Venezuela, or any other country to bat their eye at their own currency. Why would they need to use their own currency if they had such a loving relationship with the US dollar in trade? So what they did was they devalued their currency. Most of these countries, their central banks controlled the rates because they were just using the US dollar. And what that did was it created a major surplus and profit for Vietnam, for all these other countries, but it created a deficit for the United States. United States has been losing money for the last 50 plus years. So this is why President Trump, through trade and tariffs, said he was going to rebalance the world trade economy, create an equilibrium, balance the playing field. How is he doing that? Through trade. What will he do? He will have the revalue of currencies, or the currency revaluation, using trade. So what happens is this. The US, the previous administrations were able to use the US dollar as leverage in every other country. So the US knows certain countries are using the US dollar in trade. The United States can get whatever they want from those countries. Why? You're using my dollar in your trade that you benefit, country. So now I have leverage to do whatever I want to do in your country. But what that has done is created a system whereby here in the United States, we're trillions of dollars in debt. So now, through tariffs, through the trade negotiations, through tariffs, it's forcing these countries to now ditch the US dollar. Why? We're moving into a new digital banking system whereby all countries' currencies will be backed by commodities and their real values will begin to take form through trade and the backing of currencies through assets. See, the new digital banking system creates the equilibrium. The stable coins creates the equilibrium. This is why we mentioned a few minutes ago with Iraq having to get their dinars off of the street, the paper dinars, and into the banking system, because they're modernizing their banking system to prepare for the new digital banking system. The new digital banking system, folks, the new banking system will not allow for the imbalance of currencies because gold raises the value of real assets and balances them out. So the United States will no longer be the dominant dollar. As a matter of fact, and I'm sure, String Being, you probably remember when we touched on last week and the week before about the leak on the article, it talks about how Trump will focus on currency revaluation through trade and weakening the dollar.
The dollar.
This is so, folks, when as the weakening of the dollar occurs, the strengthening of foreign currencies happens. But there had to be an agreement to allow it. The previous administrations wouldn't allow it. Because, how can I say this without, well, I'm going to just say it. The corrupt politicians and whoever else were benefiting very heavily from how the system was before.
Yep.
This is why they fought so hard for Trump not to come back into office. Because the piggy bank and the greasing of the palms with many players will know it won't be able to occur in the new banking system because everything is decentralized. The new banking system is complete transparency. Every single penny that goes to the new banking system, they know where it's going and where it's coming from. This is why, folks, some of you don't even realize this, but many people that have been following Goldilocks knows that as of January the 1st, this year, 2025, a new IRS law whereby all currency exchanges, foreign currency exchanges over a certain amount, is background checks. They want to make sure there's not terrorists that's going to be exchanging large currency amounts. Criminals that have backgrounds. This is all in preparation for the new digital banking system. So I wanted to summarize for you to understand why this had to happen this way. See, the United States has had, even though the United States has in a deficit and these countries have been eating half the haul from using the dollar, the United States now has leverage on all these countries. Leverage because these countries have overplayed their hand by using the US dollar in trade for all these years. Their economies, like, again, Vietnam, it tells you 87% of the GDP for Vietnam's country comes from trade with the United States. So now Trump threatens them with a 46% tariff. That will cripple Vietnam's economy. If 46%, just think, half of their GDP will go overnight. jobs, massive job losses in Vietnam if this goes down. And every other country where Trump has imposed these tariffs. That's why they all rushed to the table to negotiate. But the United States has had the leverage because the United States knows the majority of these countries, their total GDP and revenues was solely dependent on trade into the United States. But now Trump is saying, no mas, no more. You must now utilize your own currency in trade. This is why Trump is pushing for peace and sovereignty of every country around the world. These countries can no longer depend on the US dollar in trade. They now must utilize their own currencies. This is where supply and demand, Goldilocks has shown us time and time again, directly from the actual government and banking sources, that foreign currency exchange is influenced by supply and demand. The value of these currencies go up when the demand for them go up. The demand goes up by those currencies being used through trade. The value of the US dollar has been so strong for so long because it has been majority used throughout the world in trade. That's going away. Does that make sense to you, young lady?
Yes, it does.
I hope I made sense. I hope it made sense. Okay. You can, long-term outlook.
Long-term outlook. Okay. Long-term outlook. The tariff pause offers Vietnam a window to pursue reforms that align with a market economy, greater transparency, reduce state control, and diversify trade.
Diversify.
However, challenges like rising costs, environmental degradation, and geopolitical balancing could hinder progress. Hanoi's pragmatic concessions and reform efforts suggest a trajectory towards a more market-driven model, but success depends on balancing short-term trade stability with long-term industrial and institutional resilience. The next few months will be critical for Vietnam to leverage this pause to solidify its position in a protectionist global trade landscape.
We heard tariff several times in this. We heard trade several times in this. The tariff pause offers Vietnam a window to pursue reforms and align with market economy, greater transparency. Folks, the Vietnamese dong, as Vietnam opens its economy to the global market, this is where the Vietnamese dong becomes strong because the demand for the dong will go up. This is why the reforms, what are a part of the reforms? Vietnam said, President Trump, we don't want to get hit with this 46% tariff and you cripple our economy. We're coming to the United States. We're coming to Ohio. We're coming to Kansas, Maryland, Iowa. And y'all farmers, y'all can now start importing your agricultural goods into Vietnam. That's diversifying their economy. That's not depending solely on the United States or any of the countries for just them exporting to us. And folks, the few states that I mentioned, that's the tip of the iceberg. Vietnam is doing this in other countries besides the United States, opening their economy to diversify their economy. And diversifying their economy for trade includes moving away from the US dollar and using the dong for trade. This is how the dong becomes strong, is through trade into the usage of the dong. And this is how the dollar gets weaker, because it will not be used as much in trade. This is why I'm going to repeat it again. This goes back to Trump's strategy to weaken the dollar so that other foreign currencies can get stronger. How? Through trade. Okay, young lady.
Okay.
It
It
looks like.
looks like it looks like the movement towards a market economy whereby market forces determine their currency value is scheduled to move forward.
Mhm,
On July
mhm.
the 9th, 2025, the move toward a floating exchange rate has become possible. Vietnam's movement from a government managed exchange rate will begin the process of converting over to a market economy exchange rate. Watch the water.
On July 9th, the move toward a floating exchange rate has become possible. I want to make sure this is clear for those that might read into it. This does not say on July 9th that the exchange rates will move up in value, that will begin to float. Goldilocks is very specific with the wording. On July 9th, the move toward a floating exchange rate has become possible. Why July 9th? Folks, that's the 90th day. That's the end of the tariff pause that Trump has put on countries around the world. Now, there has been an extension to Labor Day for several countries as far as the tariff negotiations. Vietnam, they are almost finished with their negotiations. So the Labor Day extension is for other countries who have not already met some of the requirements that the U.S. that Trump has put upon them. So to make that very clear. All right, now we're going to get into July 1st. So there's a lot happening in July, folks. Not sure if you've been paying attention. Not sure if you were aware, but July. It's what typically the hottest month of the year. It's going to be hot in July with a lot of things happening. July 1st, we move into literally, this is historical. The first time in the history of the global banking system. See, this is why Iraq has been getting ready. Vietnam and other central banks around the world have been getting ready for what's going to happen on July 1st. And they've been getting ready for quite some time. July 1st, it's go time for Basel III end game. Go, young lady.
Basel III, an international regulatory framework for banks developed by the Basel Committee on Banking Supervision, which is the BCBS,
Mm-hmm.
aims to enhance the resilience of the banking sector by imposing stricter capital,
Mm-hmm.
liquidity,
Mm-hmm.
and leverage requirements.
Hold on one
It's
second. 1 second, beloved. Just so I want to educate folks what Basel III is. The Basel Committee was created as a result of the 2008 financial crisis. The Basel Committee was created in order to have stricter, stronger banking requirements for all banks around the world to be compliant with, so that there is not another 2008 financial crisis, whereby the Basel Committee, whereby now banks, as of the first, gold, 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 which is the safest of safe assets, becomes sound in real money. Gold on July 1st, all banks. The Central Bank of Iraq is Basel III compliant. The Central Bank of Vietnam, Basel III compliant. Mostly all the banks around the world have become compliant. They must have a certain amount of capital in their banks. Not only capital, that's cash, moolah, dinero, in their banks to cover a crash, gold as well, and also foreign currencies as well. And also, they must have XRP in their reserves. So XRP in their reserves, foreign currencies in their reserves, gold and cash in their reserves as a result of Basel III's endgame live July the 1st. Go, young lady.
Basel III. Wait a minute, where did I stop at?
Okay, it's
I
implementation.
see. Its implementation, particularly the final phase known as Basel III Endgame, could influence foreign currency exchange rates through several indirect mechanisms, though the exact impact is complex and depends on various economic and market factors. Below is an analysis of how Basel III compliance might affect foreign currency exchange rates.
1 second, beloved. Let me explain this, so folks, how it might also, because when it comes to Basel III and how it may affect foreign currency exchange rates, well, folks, on July 1st, all banks which are banks that are the central banks for the currencies, for all currencies, gold becomes sound money. Gold becomes safe. And we're going to get into more details for you to understand a little bit about this a little bit in a minute. Go, young lady.
Basel III requires banks to hold higher levels of high quality capital, for example, Common Equity Tier 1 or CET1, and introduces standardized approaches for calculating risk-weighted assets or RWAs.
Oh, RWAs, folks. 1 second, beloved. I'm explaining what that is. Okay. RWAs stands for real world assets. Real world assets. What is gold? A real world asset. What is silver? A real world asset. What's stable coins? Real world assets. What are commodities? Real world assets. So Basel III requires banks to hold higher levels of high quality, not low quality, high quality capital, common equity tier 1, and introduces standardized approaches for calculating risk weighted assets. Also stands for real world assets, including those related to what?
Foreign exchange.
Foreign exchange. Risk. Okay. Risk. Go ahead, young lady.
I think that was the last part of that one. You want me to read down further?
Yeah, we're going to go down to. Yes, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
What we'll do, we're going to go to the screenshot.
Okay.
Now, what Garlic Stream Bean folks is going to read to you about what's going to happen on July 1st and why Basel III. Folks, without Basel III, there is no RV. I'm going to repeat it. Without Basel III endgame, on July 1st, there couldn't be no RV. I'm going to say it again. Without the Basel III endgame that goes live on July the 1st, there would not be an RV. Because as of July 1st, all of the banks around the world, just think of the dinar, Central Bank of Iraq, now has an adequate amount of capital, gold, foreign currency. The Central Bank of Vietnam, adequate amount of gold, capital, and foreign currency. For those of you who've been following Goldilocks, you remember the Central Bank of Iraq has been stockpiling not only gold, but also foreign currencies. Goldilocks has been sharing this for over a year. And for those of you that don't know, why is it so important? Folks, just think. The Central Bank of Iraq, the Central Bank of Vietnam, whatever central bank, they have cash of their own currency of a certain amount, gold that will back all currencies. In fact, when we had our conference call with the CBI 2 months ago, they bragged about how much gold they have accumulated, over 160 tons.
Wow.
They've been preparing. But now also what I want to share with you is that when it comes to the Central Bank of Iraq and every other central bank, for the currencies you hold, for the currencies we are waiting for the RV, just think, let's use Central Bank of Iraq, for example. They, as a result of Basel III endgame, the Central Bank of Iraq must have a large amount of foreign currencies in their reserves. What do you think is going to happen when those foreign currencies revalue? What do you think the benefit is going to be to the Central Bank of Iraq? All of that revenue and profit from all those foreign currencies. Every central bank around the world, folks, had to do this. So when the RV does occur, when the revaluation of these currencies, and just for those of you thinking, it's not going to be the flip of the switch and all these currencies, no. But they will eventually, through trade and these negotiations, it's all going to start coming out. Many members that have relationships with bankers are already reporting that their bankers are telling them how they're noticing the changes in some of the currency values already because of the trade negotiations through tariffs. But just think, having an adequate amount of foreign currency in their coffers, gold in their coffers, and cash in their own currency in their coffers, all getting prepared for July the 1st. Go ahead, young lady.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, the screenshot.
As of July the 1st, 2025, gold will officially be classified as a Tier 1 high-quality liquid assets, or HQLA, under the Basel III banking regulations. That means U.S. banks can count physical gold at 100% of its market value toward their core capital reserves. No longer will it be marked down by 50% as a Tier 3 asset, as it was under the old rules.
Did y'all just hear what she just read? And the title of this article, Goldilocks shared this a few days ago, is Gold is Money Again. Is that what it says, Streaming?
Yeah. Yes.
Gold is money again, beginning July 1st, folks. As of July 1st, 2025, gold. Remember, folks, you think it's a coincidence, folks, that gold has been continuously going up and reaching its all-time high over the last year or so? As of July 1st, gold will officially be classified. There goes that word, classified. The dinar was reclassified from a Class C to a Class A category. Gold will officially be classified as a is that Tier 3?
Tier 1.
Tier 5?
Tier 1.
What are the banks we have been telling folks over the last year to be going to a what bank?
Tier 1.
To establish relationships at a Tier 3 bank?
Tier 1.
Folks, you think it's a coincidence that so many folks has established relationships at Tier 1 banks and private wealth management firms? They've been getting prepared for at least a year.
A year.
Wealth managers that have agreed to exchange some folks' currencies at higher rates. It didn't take overnight. They established relations. These were relationships. You heard Nova Nicker speak of tonight about that she's met with her 7th wealth manager. It takes time to establish these relationships. As of July 1st, gold will officially be classified as a Tier 1 high quality liquid asset under the Basel III banking regulation. This is every bank around the world. The Central Bank of Iraq included. The State Bank of Vietnam included. And every bank for the currency that we hold included. That means, particularly with the U.S., that means U.S. banks can count physical gold. This is very important, this next part, at 100% of its market value toward their core reserves. Then it tells you what it was before. No longer will gold be marked down 50%. So in the old banking system, gold was discounted 50% within the banks. It tells us no longer will gold be marked down by 50% as a Tier 3 asset, as it was under the old rules. Basically, it's telling you what it was in the old system, because as of July 1st, folks, we move into the new banking system whereby gold, what's going to back our currencies in the revaluation? Gold. How can you have an RV without all these currencies around the world were revalued with the currencies with no backing, no assets to back them, no guarantee, no safe haven? Just because? Oh, just because? To revalue their currencies? There's a cause and effect to everything. The banking system doesn't operate like that, folks, where, oh, we're just going to all of a sudden revalue all the currencies in a fiat system. Every single bank around the world will go belly up. Nothing to back the currencies? How does that make sense? It doesn't. It doesn't make mathematical sense. It doesn't make logical sense. As of July the 1st, folks, the number one asset we need for the RV to back all currencies, the number one asset the whole entire world needs. As a matter of fact, this reminds me, late last night around 10 o'clock, I got a call from Goldilocks. Goldilocks had just had a conversation with a inside bank / government official. And it was shared with Goldilocks that banks had the government, specifically, I'm going to say this, the government, I'm going to speak of the United States. The United States has been injecting gold into the banks in preparation for July 1st, the Basel III endgame, but probably more so than what's being reported in the mainstream media. Gold, folks, is a high liquidity asset, meaning it doesn't get more liquid, more powerful than gold to back any asset. Currency is an asset, it will back. Also, silver, as a result of gold becoming a high liquidity asset, beginning July 1st, silver will be affected as well. Oh. Banks, as of July 1st, folks, capital, cash that they have to have into their systems, reserves, gold. If anything happens in the banking system, a crash, a 2008 financial crash again, it will be like spitting it'll be like spitting on the ass of a horse. Won't even feel it. Because I know why I said that, but because of gold, String Bean, it will not affect the markets. It's protect. So just imagine we exchange our currencies into a banking system. What if there was a crash, a 2008 crash? You got millions and millions of dollars that you've just exchanged. And there's
under that old system. Yeah.
Under that old system, and there's a crash, all of your money is gone. No protection. So just think, why do you think you've been told all these dates for so long, for the last few weeks, months, years, and you've been told there were delay, like Mike and the sniper told you, all of the foo-foo foolishness that you've been told. Folks, the banking system wasn't even ready. What you might want to do is think about why whoever told you, whoever you've heard that from, why they were telling you that. It goes back to what Mike N told you, the sniper, about keeping you coming back. Clickbait.
Yeah.
That's all it was. So if what they told you wasn't true, you got to think about what else they told you that wasn't true. This is why you have so many members that follow Goldilocks and been following what Wiley, myself, and the tribe has been showing you. That's why you have so many people that have established relationships. They've been able to take what we've applied in the truth and go in and have established these tremendous relationships with these bankers who are prepared. Folks, these bankers, they've been preparing for this. They're the bankers. It's the banks that on July 1st, gold will be a tier 1 asset. So for those of you listening to this, unfortunately, many of you are behind. You have no relationships established. You didn't know. You were following, you were watching Sesame Street and the Muppets, the Muppet Show every single week. The Muppets and the puppets, they got puppet masters behind them controlling them. July 1st, gold will officially be classified as a tier 1 asset in all banking systems, which means banks can count physical gold at 100% of its market value. So if gold is $3,000 an ounce and a bank has tons of it in reserves, 100% of that value that bank can count. Now, how does this apply to currency exchanges? Folks, they have gold that they will be able to count 100% of its value in their reserves, money in their own, let's say, US dollar or whatever country of origin, and foreign currencies, also XRP, in the reserves. So these banks will become enriched to a larger degree, and it's not for them to do whatever they want to do with it. No, this is where our currency exchanges come in. When we go into exchange our currencies at the time of when it happens for currencies, that currencies will begin to move up. Again, we have to wait and watch the water for these tariff negotiations and for everything to settle. Banks have plenty of money to be able to exchange our currency because they have plenty of gold at 100% of its value. They have plenty of foreign currencies and think of the foreign currencies and reserves that they have. They will convert those foreign currencies into, like, for example, let's use the use the United States as, for example. Let's say the United States and our banking system has billions and billions in dinar in their reserves. It's a foreign currency. Dong. It's a foreign currency in reserves. Name whatever currency. Now, when those currencies, they begin to move up in value, the United States will convert those dinars, those dong, those currencies into USD, backed by gold. Does that make sense?
Yes.
This is where the RV is funded. The value of these currencies going up, backed by assets to protect their new values. Through supply and demand, through tariffs, through trade, on the water. On the what? Whatever you cooking back there, string bean, make sure it's garlic string beans. I hear some dishes. I want some. So whatever on the water, folks, is where the trade happens. You giggling. I caught you. I hear you. This is where the value of currencies move, folks, through trade. And the banks are prepared for the new values on currencies because they have currencies in reserves. As a result, to be compliant with Basel III, they have enough gold to be compliant with Basel III and to count gold as 100% of its value, not 50% like it was in the old system. We're moving to a new system. July 1st, it goes live. So I'm going to give you a quick chronological things that are happening in July. July 1st, Basel III endgame. I just went over it. July 9th, some of the tariff negotiations will be completed and announced through trade for the tariff negotiations. That's July 9th. July 14th, ISO 220 through FedWire Oh, we might touch on that next Saturday. I believe Goldilocks is going to drop something on that. That is another where an unlimited amount of money will be able to move into the banking system through ISO 222, ISO compliance as of July 14th. And there's something else I can't remember right now. But that is it so far. Mike N, you can come back to the mic. Nova Knickers, you can come back to the mic. Also, my good lady, if you're still here, we're going to take it home. Okay, I see you, Mike, the sniper, and Nova Knickers.
Here I
Okay,
am.
there you go. Does all this make sense to you, young lady?
Mostly. Yep.
Okay. Awesome. Anything you want to add, you want to share with anyone that's listening before we get out of here?
Just that, if you haven't started trying to find a wealth manager, it's not as scary as it seems.
Mm-hmm.
They're just people.
They're just people. They're just humans, just like us.
Yeah.
Stream Bean, this is you and Sally, and this is your wonderful Ace Boom Coon right here in Nova Knickers. What you want to say about your girl? What you got to say about your girl?
I'm so excited for her and also for her husband. Just really excited to see, first of all, that she came on board. Mm-hmm. And she came into the room and she said she was ready. And so just to see her growing.
Yes. I remember when she first came into the room. I remember like it was yesterday. She was a little in and out a little bit, a little hot and cold a little bit.
Yes.
Then boom, she just took off like a rocket. Thank you so much. Mike N, the sniper, you want to add anything? I know you got something heavy you gonna drop on us.
I from the past 2 weeks, you mentioned things that have been in line with everything that's been kind of going on right now today. From 2 weeks ago, you dropped that Trump's agenda was for currency revaluation. That would be their main target for their second term. Mm-hmm. We're seeing it happening right now. Exactly. Those tariffs come into play on the 9th. The currency negotiations are happening right now. And those countries that have been benefiting, just highlighted here, with Iraq with the 90% oil and Vietnam with its 87% trade, they've been 100% hiding behind our dollar. Yep. And that's why that second week comes into play, the state that weakening the dollar is part of Trump's plan. And in that article itself, it highlights and says, it's crazy enough, but it might just work. Well, what are we seeing happen? These countries are 100% realigning themselves, putting themselves in a position to be able to do what? To be transparent with the United States by using these systems that are being created. And Basel III with the gold is just another confirmation. And I've read some of these articles that Goldilocks posted. And I've read category 1 through 5 on what banks are able to use. And that includes jurisdictions and foreign currencies and foreign banks.
Yes.
And I've also read.
I see. I'm gonna post it to. No, I'm gonna post what you sent me. I'm gonna post it to the room. Go ahead.
I've read these things where they are talking about tiers 1 that they can use as capital requirements. These facts that are here are part of the new system, and we are watching the system go live in less than 3 days.
100%. 100. That's why we call him a sniper, y'all. He don't miss. He don't miss. That MF don't miss. All right, beautiful folks. We had an amazing call tonight. We always do, but thank you all for your time. We love you. We appreciate you. Click the link at the top of the description. Anyone on YouTube, you want to join this beautiful tribe, you can join us in the Goldilocks QFS Dialogues room Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your participation. Thank you for everything. Folks, if you haven't, begin to establish your relationships. Clock is ticking. All right. We love you, everyone. Everyone have a good night. Be well.
Good night.
Ciao. Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night.
Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the #1 source for the RVGCR. People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RVGCR. Don't miss your chance and get your latest updates every day. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RVGCR. Brought to you by Freedom Fighter.